Because I know we don't have.
This is why we were. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, I was-
There.
Yeah, I was thinking that.
Good morning, members Garrett and Bolladroff, staff and guests. The lobbies are open and the recording has begun.
Good morning. We will now call to order the December 4th Washington State Liquor and Cannabis Board meeting. We will start with consideration of meeting minutes approval. Approval of the November the 5th Board caucus and November the 6th Board meeting minutes.
This is Jim. I make a motion that we approve the minutes for the November 5th and November 6th board caucus and board meeting.
And I second that. That is now approved. We will now go into rulemaking timelines. Daniel Jacobs will be presenting to us this morning.
Thank you. Good morning, members Garrett and Vollendroff. I gave a brief update on some of the rulemaking during yesterday's caucus, but I'll just repeat the highlights today. This morning, Denise is going to be presenting a petition for rulemaking that we received on changing business hours. Additionally, we're going to be having public hearings on both the emergency liquor permit rulemaking and the social equity rulemaking. Related to other rulemaking projects, we're accepting comments on draft rules on the minors on non-retail premises rulemaking and the cannabis waste rulemaking. That was sent out to the public on an email on November 20th. The deadline for that's this Friday, and you can find both of those draft rules on our agency website. Please email rules@lcb.wa.gov for provide feedback on that. And then we only have, after this board meeting, we only have one more of 2024 and that will be December 18th. During that board meeting, I will be presenting a petition response that we received requesting to amend our rule on insurance for cannabis licensees to address the use of captive insurers. Additionally, we'll be assuming that the public hearings today go all right, and that we don't have any reason to substantially change the proposed rules on the emergency liquor permits or social equity rulemaking. We'll be requesting approval of the CR 103s for both emergency liquor permits and social equity. And lastly, on December 18th, we'll be requesting to withdraw the CR 101 regarding the ESOP rulemaking, as I alluded to yesterday. A number of statutory complications and questions that were identified when we accepted the rulemaking petition. We haven't been able to overcome those in the rulemaking process. And so I'll go into more detail on December 18th, but we think that it's appropriate at this time to request withdrawal of that CR 101 in time for legislative session. I'll pause here and see if there are any questions.
No questions. I think we talked about, I had my questions yesterday and you answered those.
Great, thank you. Then I think with that, I think Denise will be up next presenting the petition response.
Thank you. Alcohol related rulemaking, Denise.
Good morning, board members Garrett and Vollendroff. This morning, the Director's Office is recommending accepting a petition for rulemaking received on October 10th, 2024 from Kendra Lawson with Weston Bay Shellfish Farm on San Juan Island. She is requesting that beer and wine restaurants be able to decrease the required number of days of operation from the current 3 days a week to accommodate the significant decrease in business during the winter months. RCW 6608030 grants the board authority to prescribe conditions, accommodations, qualifications for obtaining licenses to sell beer, wine, and spirits, and regulating the sale of beer, wine, and spirits. WAC 314-02045 describes requirements for beer and or wine restaurant licenses, including that they must be open to the public at least 5 hours a day for 3 days a week. WAC 315-02015 requires spirits, beer, and wine restaurants to be open to the public at least 5 hours a day, 3 days a week. However, WAC 314-02020 allows spirits, beer, and wine restaurants outside of an incorporated city or town to have their fees prorated for calendar quarters. The licensee is open for business, allowing these types of licensees to close for the off-season. This type of arrangement is not specified for the beer and wine licensees. Prior to 2021, the licensing division used the board's delegation of authority to allow requests for exceptions to certain existing rules, including required days and hours of operations for beer and wine restaurants. The board's current delegation of authority does not include such an exception. Licensing staff have identified the need to update WAC 314-02045 to address equity between these licensee types and supports the rulemaking to provide clear direction and parameters to address requests from licensees. Enforcement and Education Division also supports the consideration of amending WAC 314-02045 for beer and/or wine restaurants only. Based on the information provided, the Director's Office is recommending approval of the petition to consider amending 314-02045 to address allowing beer and/or wine restaurants to adjust their required days and hours of operation to accommodate seasonal fluctuations in business. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
I have no question.
I have no questions, and with that, do we have a motion to accept the rule petition?
This is Jim. This makes a lot of sense to me, and I want to thank Ms. Lawson for putting forward the request. So I make a motion that we approve the consideration for this petition.
Okay, with that, the motion passed to approve the petition to consideration requesting a change of business hours. Next, we will go into the public hearing. We have 2 public hearings this morning, one on emergency liquor permits and the second one on social equity. If anyone is signed in for general comments and your comments is related to one of the hearings, please let us know so you can put your comments in when we're doing the public hearing on those items. The first public hearing, Daniel, would be, or did I miss one? Nope. Okay, so the first public hearing would be on the emergency liquor permit. Daniel?
Thank you, and good morning again, members Garrett and Vollendroff. I'm here just to introduce the public hearing on House Bill 2204, the emergency liquor permit rulemaking. Assuming that we don't hear testimony that gives us reason to substantially change the proposed rule language, which we filed October 23rd, we plan to request approval of the final rule language on December 18th, which would have final rule language in effect January 18th. As a reminder, House Bill 2204 created an emergency liquor permit, allowing liquor manufacturers whose premises are inaccessible or unable to operate due to an emergency or road closure to temporarily do retail sales and on-premises consumption on the premises of another liquor licensee with retail sales privileges. That statute at RCW 6620.010, Section 19, goes on to say that the permit fee must be waived if there's a formal state or local emergency declaration. The permit lasts for 30 days, can be extended an additional 30 days period if the formal emergency continues. Employees of the hosting licensee can serve the permit holder's liquor, and no more than a 30-day supply of liquor, permit holder liquor, can be stored at the host premises. Liquor must be kept separate, and hosts are limited to no more than 3 emergency liquor permit holders at a time on the premises. We're already accepting applications for emergency liquor permits governed by a policy document issued in July, and to my knowledge, no emergency liquor permit applications have been submitted. We filed the CR 101 on August 14th and had an informal comment period open for over a month and received no feedback. We posted draft rule language 2 weeks ahead of our virtual stakeholder engagements held September 30th and October 3rd, and sent out that rule language with those invitations in Gov delivery on September 16th. Both sessions were recorded, and those recordings are on the Laws and Rules webpage. I also created a PowerPoint that I used during those sessions. That PowerPoint is still on the Law and Rules webpage for anyone to view and is linked in these materials. We filed the proposed rule language in the CR 102 on October 23rd, and we received one comment yesterday from the Washington Wine Institute indicating their support for the proposed rules and identifying no concerns. This statute is unique in that it allows a manufacturer to temporarily operate out of a retailer's premises. And so it involves some cross-tier activity that we historically haven't seen before. And as a result, the proposed rule language has some very specific restrictions. Our proposed rule language involves creating a new rule at WAC 314-38-120 on emergency liquor permits. We haven't identified any other existing WAC sections that need to be changed. From a high level, the rule's built to make sure that this unique level of cross-tier activity doesn't open the door for avoiding compliance with other existing laws or rules. Now, we're not trying to say that any permit holder would try or attempt to use this situation as an opportunity to skirt compliance, but simply because of the unique intersection of manufacturer and retailer that's contemplated by the statute, there are some interesting results. I went into a lot of detail during the October 23rd board meeting on the proposed rule language, and I'm not going to go into all that detail again, but just sort of for the highlights, our proposed rule identifies who can get the permit and who can host the permit holder, states that we're not charging a fee to get the permit, states that only liquor licensees who can already sell spirits are allowed to host licensees that sell spirits. We explain what mass permit requirements have to be met. We explain what record and tax payment requirements have to be met. We require displaying the permit in addition to some other requirements. Lastly, we also define several terms that aren't specifically defined in statute. Once the public hearing itself starts, I'm not going to be able to respond to any questions that may come up, but after we've concluded the public hearing, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Daniel. At this time, we have no one signed up for public comments for this hearing. Is that correct, Gretchen? Okay. No one is signed up, so we will close the hearing. Daniel?
Thank you.
Okay, so the next public hearing is going to be on social equity. And we will now open up that public hearing.
Thank you. Do you want me to give a brief preview of that?
Yes.
All right. So morning. I'm going to briefly preview the public hearing. This is on the supplemental CR 102 on the social equity rulemaking. Similar to what I just said, assuming we don't have reason to substantially change the proposed rules, we've got the same timeline where we'll file or request approval of the final rules during December 18th. And if approved, the rules will be effective January 18th. The proposed rule was initially approved by the board on July 31st and filed August 6th. It encompassed community feedback by including detailed definitions and a clear, simplified, and transparent process for determining eligible applicants for the social equity program. The scoring rubric was refined to reduce barriers to entry and identify individuals most impacted by the enforcement of cannabis prohibition policies. And it added provisions to enhance accessibility and economic opportunity, including allowing affidavits to demonstrate eligibility for specified criteria, an appeal process, and adjustments to license mobility requirements. The public hearing on those proposed rules was held September 25th. There were 2 stakeholders that testified at the hearing, and we received 11 comments on the proposed rules. Following the public hearing, the LCB decided that we should file a supplemental CR 102 to address some of the concerns raised. Those proposed rules were filed during the October 23rd board meeting. The changes made to the proposed rules filed on August 6th were discussed in depth during that October 23rd board meeting and are still reviewable in a PowerPoint on the LCB's rule webpage. But just to recap some of those changes made in the supplemental CR 102, we proposed a separate registration window for retailers versus non-retailers. This will allow individuals who don't get selected for a retail license to potentially apply for a producer processor license. There were also several changes made to the scoring rubric, including increasing the amount of points that are allocated for living in a DIA, decreasing the amount of points for criminal history conviction, increasing the amount of points related to household income, and increasing the amount of points related to prior dispensary ownership. Additionally, regarding license mobility, we clarified that folks who applied pursuant to House Bill 2870 can't move license locations until January 1st, 2026. This was initially scheduled as 90 days after the application window closed, but after receiving stakeholder feedback, we pushed that out. Lastly, regarding title certificate holders, we have decided to maintain prior board policy, which says that title certificate holders can apply for reinstatement of their initial title certificate in the same county that they were initially issued in, but they're allowed to separately apply to be a 5080 applicant. Now, similar to before, once the public hearing opens, I'm not going to be able to respond to questions during the public hearing. I will do my best to answer any questions that might come up afterwards. But as folks might know, this hasn't historically been my rulemaking project, so I'll do the best I can. But there may be some questions that I don't have the expertise to answer, but I'll still do my best. Lastly, just as a note, we've received several public comments in the rules inbox on these draft rules. Also, we've had folks testify during public comment period since that October 23rd board meeting. And a lot of those comments have focused on the license mobility provisions. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions you might have now, but otherwise I think we can open the hearing.
Do you have any questions? Okay, thank you. And with that, we will open the public hearing. Please be aware that you have up to 3 minutes to speak. Limit your comments to the role of the hearing and refrain from personal attack. Be respectful of speakers and everyone else who is present. And with that, we will go into the virtual sign up. First person we have signed up virtual is Jackie Wilaski.
Jackie had signed up by phone and is not showing on the list right now.
Okay. With that, then we will go to in-person sign up. The first person signed up in person is Peter Manning.
Good morning, board chair. I'm not sure who's filling that position. Ollie, Garrett, or Jim Ballandroff, but good morning to the board chairs. My name is Peter Manning, president of Black Excellence Cannabis. I would like to say that we are pleased with the rubric, the way it stands. It initially was this way to begin with. You guys decided to change it for whatever reason, and we pushed back on it, the community at large, and you changed it back. And, I don't know if that considers it a victory or do I consider this a stall tactic. I just, listen, this is where I'm at. I just want equity to be equitable. I want having to stop coming up here to the LCB, telling the LCB, hey, Black people need to be included in this industry. It's just crazy, man. I've been doing this for almost 10 years, man. 10 years. And, it's frustrating because it's like if you know something's broken, you know how to fix it. And we know that the system was broken to begin with. And, then you villainize the people that bring that to a light. They become the villain of saying that there needs to be correction. And that's not fair to them. There's rumor has it that Peter and Mike Black Excellence Cannabis somehow is trying to commandeer 100-something licenses. Like, really, is that even doable? Let alone we can't even open up, and the LCB needs to kick into gear and help out with that because they created this madness to begin with. And, you know, I like to say also, there was a lawsuit filed. It has merit. It's picked up by a major law firm. And I look at it, and just through the discovery, it's just unbelievable. I alluded to it, but actually someone came along and did their due diligence and found out it's actually true. Whites were given preferential treatment over that of blacks and browns when whites had no qualifications.
Peter, you have 30 seconds.
That's sad. And here we go. We're stuck here with no movement. And there's a lot of people that were harmed back in 2015. This agency owes a lot of explanation, and they need to make up for that. There's families affected. And it's sad that a regulatory agency that's supposed to represent the entire state of Washington and all the people overlook the people that they most impacted and profited off of during the war on drugs. It's
Peter,
sad.
that's your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have signed up Mike Asaf.
Good morning, board members Garrett and Ballandroff and community. My name is Mike Asai with Black Excellence in Cannabis. Want to echo some things that Peter said. The rubric, yes, is what it originally should have been. So we in our organization are happy there. But I want to touch on, and I hope Justin Nordham is listening, and as well as Daniel. The certificate holders, okay, understand, and I stand corrected, it was law in 5080. And we will be working to get rid of that in law. But that is law, okay. The issue is that we're double dipping now with certificate holders. They can reinstate their license and then they can apply again. We think that's just truly unfair. They should only be able to reinstate their license because me and others as a social equity applicant, I can only apply once. But back in 2015, 2016, under Senate Bill 5052, you can apply 3 times. So, you know, LCB, you created this thing where, okay, we'll give you a license for social equity, but you can only apply once. We think that is just an unfair situation, unfair system that you're creating here. And we think you definitely need to look into that because it's not in law in 5080 that social equity applicants can only apply once, okay? And it's showing there because you guys are allowing certificate holders to apply twice. The other thing is dispensary versus formerly owned a dispensary or collective garden. We believe there's still manipulation that can be there. The intent is former dispensary owners. And, you know, I'm telling you right now, there was growers that got in under this last round, people that had a collective garden. I believe the intent is former dispensary owners. So I'm not sure how the third party vendor is going to look at that because if somebody comes in with their incorporation that had marijuana or cannabis, collective garden, that could have been a grow. So what is the process to ensure that we are prioritizing former dispensary owners because this goes back to Senate Bill 5052 back in 2015. That's pretty much it. Last thing, you're giving credit for those who applied for 2870 but didn't get across the finish line. Okay, understand.
Mike, you have 30 seconds.
Thank you. What about those who applied in 2015 under Senate Bill 5052 that put applications in that had a priority 1, 2, or 3, but did not get across the finish line? There should be some credit for that. Thank you.
Thank you. There's no one else signed up. Did anyone notify that they wanted to switch over? Do we know?
I don't have anybody. Everybody else is on the agenda.
Okay, and with that, we will close the public hearing. Next, we will go into general public comment. As I just stated, everyone will have up to 3 minutes to speak. Limit your comments to LCB business and refrain from personal attacks or going off topic. With that, first signed up virtual is Jay Oba. Okay. Next signed up is David Rose. Okay, and we'll come back to these names. Next signed up is Casey Calhoun. Casey, you should be live now.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Good morning. Good morning, Chair Vollendroff, Board Member Garrett, and LCB staff. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. I would like to offer my comments once again on the issue of license mobility. I am very concerned about the LCB's repeated stance on license mobility when the statute language regarding license mobility for all social equity licensees is clear, concise, and is not ambiguous. RCW 6950-335. At the time of licensure, all licenses issued under the social equity program may be located in any city, town, or county in the state, regardless of whether a cannabis license was originally allocated or issued in another city, town, or county. In the LCB's current proposed rules, the notice states on page 2 that this proposed rule, quote, offers broader location opportunities under specific conditions. These conditions are numerous, involving an expanded timeline of more than a year from now, and creates an additional scoring requirement, which in fact does not offer broader location opportunities, but in fact restricts location opportunities. I'm confused as to why the rules team has come to this decision to create two different license mobility structures, as it seems clearly in conflict with the majority of stakeholder feedback, the repeated recommendations of the Social Equity Task Force final report. It's in conflict with testimony given from the board to the House and the Senate that 5080 be passed as is. And most importantly, the proposed rule is in conflict with the clear language of current statute and legislative intent. Nowhere in 5080 is there language for two different license mobility structures, grandfathering provisions, or savings clauses. The board should not implement a rule in conflict with statute. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you. And did I see David Rose come on?
Yep.
Okay.
I'll let him in just.
Okay.
David Rose should be live.
David, you should be able to speak now.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Hello? Oh, okay. Thank you. Good morning, board. Yeah, I just want to touch on this mobility that we have. I just think it will be so devastating. It directly threatened my mobility to provide for my family and secure a future for myself. I made significant investment in time and resource. I urge you to reconsider this decision and prioritize the needs of social equity applicants. I hope we can find a solution that aligns with the original intent of the law. If necessary, I may need to explore other venues such as media outreach to ensure our voice is heard. You know, and I've heard a lot of things about being fair about this program. A lot of people has been hurt by this program. You know, we had the people in medical cannabis, they lost their license. You know, people who try to get licensed before on this round, 90% of them voted to try to get their license in King County. And after the program was over, there was still 4 licenses that was available in other counties. So those people, they took a risk of trying to go to King County and didn't look at other options. And, you know, I don't think we should keep penalizing other people and trying to make things fair, because all through this program, a lot of things have not been fair for a lot of people and a lot of applicants. But what we can do is move forward in a righteous way to make things right now and to make things fair. Because not only is the mobility, even if we have mobility, there's other obstacles in our ways. We have counties that won't let us in anyways. So mobility is just one thing that we're facing. We're facing a slew of other things. And if you guys set us out for another year, a lot of us will not make it. And the funds you guys gave us, it doesn't align with putting us out for another year. We'll be losing everything that we have set up for. We already been waiting for a year. Some of us have been. So I just want you guys to really think about what you guys are doing. And, you know, we're conflicting with the law, making rules that conflict with the state law. Thank you for your time, guys.
Thank you. Next signed up, we have Christopher King. Christopher, you're live now.
Great morning. May it please the board and everybody watching. The first thing right off the bat I need to discuss with you is that going forward, now with Despot Dave gone, we need to renew the 4 minutes, okay? What happened here is that you guys have increasingly, over all these years, have failed programs for social equity. Now is the time for us to try to voice these concerns over very complex issues instead of going forward and you know, the system wasn't broken. 4 minutes was fine. So going forward, when we model a new board, that's not negotiable. The public's going to demand it, and you need to reverse that pronto. Next, moving forward, the composition of the board needs to change. Ollie Garrett has to go. I've said this before. I can work with Jim Vollendroff, but Ollie has a history of being accusatory. This was back in the day when there was that clandestine thing with Chris Bennett and Nate Miles, and we never got a response about the certified mail that was sent from Kevin Shelton to her about that. That just got brushed away. And other people noticed that too. We move on to the second point here. There's a woman, and I could talk about Tabor 100 because you guys have mentioned Tabor 100 in these meetings. That's a fact. And this is a woman, Ollie's no friend of the Negro, okay? I've had several blacks contact me and they were scared to go forward, but they told me that seeing Ollie G's face was extremely triggering, but then what you all discussed regarding how they do business made me realize some major things. And they went on to say, what really got us interested was you and your associates' relentless attempts to seek the truth about everything involved in your cannabis justice efforts. Even asking for what happened to certified mailings or asking Emerald Hayes, Black Excellence and Cannabis Files, asking for those got you called out for demonizing Ollie Garrett. Okay? It's not true. And we're not going to stand for that. All right? Next. This person also said, we've had many issues and concerns about the way that Ollie Garrett and her associates run their affair. I have worked long and thankless hours for Ms. Garrett at Tabor 100. So there's that. Next, Ollie knew all along that there were these deep-bedded problems, deep-seated problems with the agency in terms of racism. I did lots of public records requests, and you could give them out very stingily, but I got this letter, and it's signed by Peter Manning, actually. And in the letter back in 2016, he said that we all know that this new industry in Washington State is not designed to allow Black people and other minority groups into the fold. This was made apparent by the state of Washington when they gave over rulemaking to those who had an existing I-502 store or had an interest in the I-502 market. This was
Christopher, you have 30 seconds.
By those rulemakers to eradicate the Black-owned dispensaries. Okay, that was there. And he even went on to say that, Uncle Ike has a black name and a black woman on his building as if she's a black owner and all this stuff. It's ridiculous. But going forward, I think Pete Holmes wants to come to the board. I could work with him too. As a matter of fact, I got some Maui Wowie. I'd like to burn with him and sit down and talk about having a position as an ombudsman as well, which I would gladly fill. That's it. Have a great day.
Thank you. Next, we have signed up in person, Peter Manning.
Once again, my name is Peter Manning, President of Black Excellence Cannabis. And I'd like to say good morning to the board, Ollie Garrett and Valendroff. I don't agree with Christopher King too much. It's rarely that I ever do, but the letter I did send out to Ollie Garrett in 2016 outlining the hijacking of the cannabis industry away from Black and brown people, and what I felt at that time was done on purpose, which of course it turned out to be true. Ollie brushed that to the side. So I don't know, moving forward in 2024, moving into the future of 2025, where she's going to be at when it comes to Black issues. I know where she stood in the past, and it was mute. The momentum for social equity got its push when I filed a lawsuit against this agency in 2019. I met with Inslee. Inslee, along with Black Excellence Cannabis, came with a thing along with LCB for 2870 that we were allowed to help draft it. I still pursued with the lawsuit, but that was a compromise. So this agency's never done anything proactive to correct the wrongs that was done to the Black and brown community. We don't even need to prove it. It's proven by the illusion of inclusion. When you ride through the Black neighborhood, you have these big dispensaries with Black people painted on the side of them. I mean, come on, really? But when you dig into it, there's not one Black-owned store in King County. Social equity licenses went out there last year or the beginning of this year. Everyone has reached out to the agency, the LCB, and asked for help in making Seattle lax or get lax on some of their zoning. The LCB has just been mute. No, nothing. They're not proactive. If Ollie, I don't know what's going on, who's going to be the board chair, but I pray to God it's not you. You've done nothing for the Black community. It's just you've been in this position. So that's just my personal opinion. Moving forward, you've always told us we can't live in the past. Well, the past was where the harms were harmed. So we have to correct that. You can't
Peter, you have
overlook
30
slavery.
seconds.
You can't overlook the war on drugs. If we overlook the past, as Ollie wanted us to, we would even have social equity now. Just think about that for a moment. My lawsuit alleged that we were past harm. The compromise was 2870. Think about that. So I do live in the past. Let's correct the past. That's how you make the correction in the future. You just don't let it just keep going. So anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, we have signed up Mike Asai.
Yes, good morning, board members Garrett and Valendroff, Mike Asai, Vice President, Black Excellence Cannabis. I find it funny, former chair Postmans had made comments months ago about, don't make a comment about Department of Commerce and the issues that we're going about. And then prior to 2 weeks ago's board meeting, there was an email that was sent out saying, hey, heads up about some, I forget exactly what it was, but basically it was saying, hey, so you know what's going on with commerce. So my point is that I'm talking about commerce because they're moving the goalposts again right now, saying that you can't get extra funding that was supposed to be awarded to you until you spend the money. We just find that just, once again, unfair and not the intent. The intent, as Ollie, as you know, people are coming into this industry, in essence, broke. So they need money to open up. For Commerce to issue the funds, and then for Commerce now to move the goalposts again and say, you got to spend this money, we just think it's unfair. And we're not happy with launch and with Monica as the coordinator with this whole thing, as we voiced our opinion on that. So we just like for the LCB to talk with Commerce, talk with Launch, let people get their money that they need without having to go through this back and forth and spend the money and all this and that. The mobility part, I did not touch on it during the public hearing because, in essence, we see what the board is doing. We, as our organization, we are happy with that verbiage because we believe that you are listening. Because once again, for those who are listening and those who have made comments, you have scores of 90, 130, 170. How dare you think that you can come to King County or come to Pierce County or Snohomish County, where people who had scores of 250 didn't get a license in King County? So, we think that's just a disrespect for you that think you can now take your license of a score of 130 and move it. No, you cannot do that. And I'll take responsibility because at the grant session, I told people to, hey, go read the rules for yourself. And those people read those rules and they said, oh, January 1st, 2024, licenses can be mobile. That was not the
Mike,
intent.
you have 30 seconds.
Thank you. That was not the intent. The intent was 2870. Now, LCB, you're responsible for this debacle because what you should have did was when Inslee signed that and it was passed May 1st, 2023, you should have did emergency rules to make all licenses mobile, okay, at that time on the first round. Well, you didn't. But hey, the way it is right now is this rulemaking that's in there, we're happy with that.
Mike,
Once
that's your
again,
time.
those people who think they can make their licenses mobile with scores of 130, absolutely not. Thank you.
Thank you. Going back to the virtual, did Jay Obo ever sign up? And then it looked like I missed one person, Paula Sardinas was signed up. Is she?
Sibo is not showing. Sardinas was not signed up, but there's a hand raised.
Okay. Did you want to?
I can let him in.
Yeah. Paula, you should be live now.
Good morning, Chair Garrett and Board Member Vollendroff. My name is Paula Sardinas and I represent FMS Global Strategies. I'm glad to just add some context this morning. We have been working in this industry since 2016. It was actually our firm, as I was a commissioner with the Washington African American Commission on African American Affairs, that worked with the LCB to bring forward the cannabis social equity policy. So I wanted to clear that up for the record. That bill was brought in 42 days after we had heard numerous complaints from the industry about them not having equity. We worked on that policy as an LCB request piece of legislation under the leadership of Board Member Garrett, and Eric Pettigrew was the sponsor of that bill. The intent of that bill, because there's been some confusion here today, was to make sure that we had 556 licenses under 5052 to give an opportunity to take at that time 38 licenses that were never issued or revoked, and to have those licenses go out to folks in the community that were considered to be underserved. What we have done since then is to make sure we've had listening sessions and we've heard from community about how we can make the social equity program more equitable. We have since then probably done about 13 to 14 different bills dealing with different issues. We have transformed the agency and made sure that enforcement is an agency that does education and not just over policing. We brought 5080 again as an LCB request bill, not a community request bill. Community brought 2022 and it died. But that was legislation to make sure that we included producer processors, working with the agency to select the sponsors. And so I think what we have today is a policy that continues to evolve, and we're trying to make sure that the policy gets better. There are still opportunities to make social equity better, and no one is saying the program is perfect, but Washington was one of the fourth or fifth states to create a program, and the program still needs to have work. It was never intended that the state would solely fund social equity. No state has been able to do that. And I say that as someone who was the co-chair of the Social Equity Task Force. What we need to do is to continue to hear from community and the legislatures on how we can make the process more successful. But I absolutely support the mobility and having people be able to move their licenses. So thank you to the board. Thank you to the AG's office, and we look forward to continuing to work with you on this process.
Thank you. We also had a hand raised in Forrest. I haven't forgotten about you. Sammy Saab had his hand raised.
Thank you so much, Ms. Haley. You called my name. I was in my way. I have accident, almost died last time coming. Nobody called me, and unfortunately, the one she's making, calling her people, she being very rude with me last time. My message is very simple, Ms. Haley Garrett. I called you, and I spoke to you a long time ago. I am the first pioneer to have a license as medical license. Sami Saad is the first medical pioneer in Washington State. I am Muslim, I am African. It don't make me better. I am black. I am not African American, but I'm black just like you guys. They called me the LCB when I applied. When they said we're gonna close those locations, we're gonna give you category 1. I am category 1. They didn't give me a license, Ms. Haley. They give it to Uncle Ike's, Howard Hard, and all of them. I am not against no race or nothing like that. I am mixed with Israelites, mixed with African with Arab. But you guys give it to the white Israelites. And now you guys lied to us about the social equity. You met with me, you and Paula. Paula, she's a great woman at the time. And she said she will help me. You said you will help me too. Because you listened to me publicly. You see thousands of people, they support in Sami Saad at the time. In a Lucia Center in Seattle. And you said you came to help the social equity. You didn't help us. Later, I'm sorry to say this, Ellie, what's his name? Your ex-boyfriend, he have multiple licenses. That's against the law. Jim Buchanan. And he's the one get the money, $105 million for Africa Town. Who in Africa Town get money? Are you guys playing game? Why you don't give the pioneer? Second thing is, Miss Ellie, you know it's only 8 licenses in Seattle. I'm the top winner in Seattle. And now you want to take the 8 license by mobility? You can have mobility anywhere, not in Seattle. Seattle is only 8 license. We cannot even get location because it's all banded. Are you guys want to give us license or not? I almost driving now. Now I'm half naked to speaking with you guys. That's why I don't want to have myself, because I'm sick, because I'm coming over there. Do you guys want to give us? I'm the only Sudanese American in this. I am the only one of two only Muslim people, me and the twin. You guys didn't give the twin. One of them went to prison. The other one didn't go to prison. But he have a medical cannabis. Both of them, they used to have cannabis dispensary. I have cannabis. You said in King 5 News you have my name to help you guys. And you have, at the time,
Sammy, you have 30 seconds.
You have to give me this chance. You have my name in King 5 News, and you was speaking. You said you cannot go back. You cannot go back, but you promise us to give us our license. We need our license first, and we do not need no debate in King County. You can be mobility anywhere else, not in Seattle, not in King County. Only 8 licenses in Seattle is being approved by the mayor, Bruce Hero. Why you want to bring us again, other people? Why you don't want to give us our license as pioneer? Why you don't want to give the pioneer more point?
Sammy, that's your time.
Give them their license first. The pioneer before 2016. You black, why you don't help them, Ellie?
Next, we have signed up Forrest, and I can't make out your last name, Forrest.
Is the microphone working?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for having me. My name is Forrest Chesvick. I am the owner of Good Buzz Brewing Company in Centralia, Washington. We're a winery. I'm here today because I want to work with you guys to open an avenue for small businesses like ours to be able to participate with other businesses in the community. Currently, you guys have a couple permits that allow us to work with nonprofits and allow us to work with an invitation-only group to sample and sell our products to. I want to expand that or possibly create a new permit. And I know this might be a legislation thing, but just want to put my best foot forward and start here first. The intention here is to allow businesses like mine to participate with other groups in the community and participate in events in a similar capacity to a beer garden, where we're able to showcase our products, sell them by the glass or potentially by the bottle as well at public events. Currently, there's no way for us to do that with the rules we have on the books. And I feel this would be something that'd be extremely important for businesses like mine. I hope you'll forgive me, I'm not as well spoken as the people that came before me. This is all new for me here. The intention here, as far as I see it, would be greatly beneficial for small businesses. Advertising is extremely expensive, and this would be a great way for us to engage with the community, showcase our products, and provide a venue where there is safe and healthy consumption of alcohol. I feel the benefits of this. It would allow small businesses to showcase their products to people that otherwise wouldn't know we exist. Most small businesses, we don't have the big fancy building on the side of the freeway. We're tucked in a small corner of town that no one goes to, because when you start, you have to go where rent is cheap. This would allow us opportunities to go to places, say like Point Ruston, here in Olympia downtown, and work with other people, other businesses in the community to host events that the community could enjoy. In addition to this, if these people are going to be hosting these events anyway, it would help us to promote a safe area for consumption of alcohol. If a event is going to be held and they want to go if they want to serve alcohol without all the processes of the liquor board, a option that I've seen.
Forrest, you have 30 seconds.
Thank you. They will often have just an ice chest full of drinks or something similar to that, which could lead to DUIs or over intoxication. Having someone like myself, my employees, be able to serve this would help mitigate the risks of that. In addition to allowing businesses like us to work in these types of events, would be able to also help generate more revenue for the business here and the small businesses like myself. So hopefully I can work with you guys and get something like this going. I look forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And with that, happy birthday, Jim.
Happy birthday to you.
Okay. With that, the meeting is now adjourned.
Happy birthday,